Hello there everyone, my name is Viben and welcome to my Avengers Doomsday pitch. Finally. And yeah, let's not waste any time here. Let's just get into it. Although firstly, I want to go through my thought process here of sort of how this script took shape or whatever. But if you do want to just jump straight into the actual pitch itself, feel free. There's a time code, should be right here on the screen. So feel free to jump ahead. But anyway, let me go through my thought process. So when I started writing this script, I sort of wanted to get into the heads of the Russo brothers, sort of how they were thinking. So I rewatched Infinity War and Endgame, which happened to be the last movies they made with Marvel, and I watched the whole movie, and then I watched the movie with audio commentary where they were kind of talking about how they did it, how they directed the movie, and just generally trying to read as much possible of what they were saying, what they could mean, etc., etc. So, we don't know much about Doomsday. It's been very tightly guarded, very much under wraps. We pretty much know nothing. There were no big set leaks. There were a few that even they are questionable, but we have seen two scenes from Avengers Doomsday, which happen to be two post-credit scenes from Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four first steps, the last two movies in the MCU. And one, I think, unifying thing here is that both of them, they have a considerable time jump after the main events of that movie. For Thunderbolts, it was 14 months, and then for Fantastic Four, it was 4 years. Which I get the 4 years for Fantastic Four because that was sort of, we can get Franklin grown up and all stuff. But for Thunderbolts, and I'm not the only one thinking this, but it was weird. It was very weirdly specific of a time jump. 14 months. For a while I had pretty much nothing for it, but after I posted my life update on August 11th, I've been thinking about it more and more as I was sort of putting this script together. Actually, yeah, I have the script right here. I wrote a freaking script. This is 27 pages, I think. Although I haven't counted, but pretty sure it's like 27, almost 30. And this isn't like actual official, like it isn't like professionally written script. It's just bullet points, but still. Huge script. I did my freaking homework, alright? Because the question I was looking for was, why are the Russo brothers and Stephen McFeely coming back, and why are they coming back so adamantly? Why they wanted to make this movie? Which, long story short, the Russo brothers kind of wanted to come back. They called Stephen McFeely if he had an idea. Steven said no, but the next morning, like 7 a.m. or something, he called them back. The Russo brothers called them back and said, I got a story, and that's it. Stephen McFeely is the half of the writing duo for Captain America, the First Avenger, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, which goated track record, by the way. Apparently he had an idea, and many people, me included, have been wondering what exactly could that be, why they wanted to come back, and why Robert Downey Jr. has to play Dr. Doom. So on August 20th, 9 days later after my life update video, I finally figured it out, and I even posted that Hank Schrader shitting on a toilet, whatever. So as I was going through, sort of looking for answers, any unanswered questions, sort of lingering questions, but from Endgame, Infinity War, I was reminded that behind the scenes, the Russo brothers and Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, they sort of had a disagreement of how the time travel logic works in that film, in Endgame. Very famously, for example, when Steve went back in time, Marcus and McFeely thought that meant that Steve existed on the same timeline but in the past. But the Russo brothers, they believed, or at least intended it to mean that Steve went into a separate timeline altogether. And that's when it hit me. Maybe that whole debate is the Maybe that debate is the key. Matter of fact, the whole time heist might be the key. So why would the Russo brothers and Stephen McFeely want to come back? They wanted to come back, resolve and settle their biggest creative battle behind the scenes. So then it all lined up. So back to the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, which was 14 months later. Well, the main events of the film have been speculated to be around the fall of 2027, late August, early to mid-September, around there. 14 months after that is roughly October 2028, at least like late October. Now when did Endgame take place? Well, to recap, at the beginning of Avengers Endgame, we got the famous or infamous 5 years later, which got us from 2018 to the widely accepted date of October 2023, which places Avengers Doomsday exactly to the month 5 years later. So I boldly predict this is how Avengers Doomsday starts, with a big bold text of 5 years before. So we fade into Vormir, just behind the Vormir temple where Clint and Natasha were fighting each other who gets to sacrifice themselves for the Soul Stone. Then as soon as the temple lights up, Steve Rogers teleports in and returns the Soul Stone to Red Skull. We get that much demanded Red Skull and Steve reunion, and after putting the stones back, Steve thought,
maybe I'll try some of that life Tony was telling me to get.
so he teleports away to get to his life with Peggy. It's Been a Long Time by Harry James plays as we see the last scene of Endgame, maybe even an extension to that scene. But we stay in this 2014 timeline, a Thanos-less timeline, where some events happened a little differently.
What happened? You mess with time, it tends to mess back. You'll see.
Since without Thanos to unite the Avengers, Ultron became their last big threat. And here the world fully turns on the Avengers. They blame Tony Stark for this catastrophe at Sokovia. And then similarly, the UN breathes down their necks. But in Sokovia itself, something unexpected occurs. The survivors are rescued by Tony's evacuation drones, the Iron Legion, who, helped clean up the mess after the events of Age of Ultron. They hail him as a hero.
Hi. Okay. Get in the tub.
Calling him their Iron Savior. And then when Tony finally visits the country, he finds adoration, admiration, and respect instead of blame like everywhere else. And that validation plants a dangerous seed, one that grows poisonous over time. And then eventually when the Sokovia Accords are signed, they are much more harsher and more militarized and authoritarian. Also here Tony sides with them, but now it's not out of guilt, but it's more like conviction.
We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game. If we can't accept limitations, we're boundaryless, we're no better than the bad guys.
He insists that the Avengers need to be kept in check.
We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are still our own.
If we don't do this now, it's gonna be done to us later. That's the fact. That won't be pretty.
And here the confrontation between Tony and Steve does not end with Tony being humbled, but instead he becomes estranged and self-righteous.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth. Oh, God,
Tony, every time I think
Well,
you
it's
see
100
things the right
acres
way.
with a lap pool. It's got a screening room. There's worse ways to protect people.
Protection. Is that how you see this? This is protection?
She's a kid.
Give me a break!
I'm doing what has to be done to stave off something worse.
You've been busy.
And you've been a complete idiot. Dragging in Clint, rescuing Wanda from a place she doesn't even want to leave, a safe place. I'm trying to keep you from tearing the Avengers apart.
Tony.
Did you know?
I didn't know it was him.
Shouldn't. I just did you know? Yes.
This isn't gonna change what happened.
I don't care. He killed my mom.
He's my friend.
So was I. That shield doesn't belong to you. My father made that shield.
Steve, Nat, and Sam, they disappear into the wind, and the rest of the Avengers are fractured beyond repair. Haunted and paranoid, Tony retreats to the only place that still believes in him, Sokovia. There he starts to rebuild. He recreates clean energy grids, stabilizes the economy, eliminates corruption and warlords, etc., etc., and the nation rises from ruin. And under Tony's new technocratic regime, its borders expand, taking over the would-be nation of Latveria. And all of this was made possible with the help of Tony's new advisor, a brilliant unknown Latvian scientist, Victor Von Doom. Together they begin doing everything they can for the protection of their country, as well as building a suit of armor around the world. But over time their shared mission begins to fracture. Their philosophies clash. Tony believes in protection through restraint, defenses, deterrence, peace through vigilance, but never domination. Victor believes freedom itself is the flaw. Freedom breeds chaos. Humanity doesn't need guidance, it needs control. And slowly over time, Tony's brilliance becomes a catalyst for something far greater. His genius, ambition, and moral compromises ignite a dangerous potential in Victor, making this Doom unlike any variant that He Who Remains attempted to suppress. Yes, I'm theorizing He Who Remains, and perhaps the rest of the Kang Dynasty, saw Dr. Doom as their biggest threat against their domination throughout the multiverse, perhaps during the last multiversal war. So Victor no longer sees Tony as a mentor but an obstacle, a man riddled by guilt, compassion, and hesitation. Victor sees these as flaws that Tony refuses to abandon. So Victor begins to emulate Tony's genius, but without his limits. So Doom either kills Tony, imprisons him, or even exiles him out of Sokovia, but regardless, Victor takes everything Tony left behind. His labs, his designs, his AI, his armor, his face, stealing his legacy and reforging the title of Iron Savior into a symbol for the god he believes he must become. He merges dark technology with Sokovian and Latvian sorcery, cybernetics, perhaps even scrolls tied to Wanda's chaos magic or something, by tapping into eldritch magic and mastering the mystic arts. Doom learns to merge science and sorcery, creating technology that obeys his will, and in secret he begins building his own suit of armor around the world, every world. His final revelation is stark and obsolete.
New mask. Same task.
We fade to black as Marvel's intro starts playing. Text on screen. Then we see someone portal into a random universe that seems to be collapsing in on itself. It's an incursion. But this figure is clearly here to save it. He starts waving his hands, conjuring magic, and the collapsing world around him starts to heal. He looks at his watch that tells him incursion prevented. A few people in the distance cheer him on and start calling him their Iron Savior. He then teleports away to his next mission. Following this, we get a montage of this mysterious man fixing and repairing incursions across the multiverse, using his talents as a sorcerer, scientist, and a tactician, trying to keep the stability of the multiverse intact. Kinda like Spider-Man 2099. But mission after mission, the incursions become more and more unstable and dangerous, and more of them are caused by not the evil villains, but by heroes. Exhausted, this mysterious figure retreats to his portal and ready to return home. His Latvian lab is filled with very familiar looking weapons, gadgets, tools, etc. Suspiciously similar to TVA technology. Who copied who? He sits down in his Latvian chambers, deep in research, calculating the endgame, until he starts to realize what he's doing might be a futile effort, and traces the incursions back to 5 years before. To a single anomaly, a date and a name appears. October 23, 2023. Steve Rogers, 616, the man responsible for the original incursion. Ethan teleports to a lonely, lovely little yellow house with Steve Rogers arriving in his car, going inside, having dinner with his wife, enjoying his happy ending with Peggy after Endgame. The cloaked man takes off his mask, his face still in the shadows. He waves his green glowing hand, and now a flickering hologram takes over his face, a mix of technology and magic. As Steve finishes his food, he gets up and takes his dishes into the sink. Then someone bursts through the door, and it's Dr. Doom with the face of Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. The face is sort of an intimidation game by Doom to sort of catch Steve by surprise, get him off his game, confuse him, guilt trip him, as well as just trying to take the life Tony had as sort of a mask. Before Steve can fully react, Doom jumps him, pushing Peggy away and pinning Steve against the wall. Peggy quickly gets up and starts shooting at Doom. Doom turns towards Peggy, raising his hand, glowing green, and fearing for the worst, Steve punches Doom with all his might, right square in the middle of Doom's face, and Doom's device masking his true face sizzles, fusing into his skin, scarring him permanently. And when the smoke clears under his hood, Tony Stark stares back. Not alive, not dead, Doom's face now grotesquely scarred in the permanent likeness of Tony Stark. Doom went from weaponizing Tony's legacy and face to being forced to wear the face of the man he now hates, the man whose shadow he cannot escape. Then Steve and Peggy, they team up against Doom, and within that fight, Steve is able to damage Doom's multiversal watch on his gauntlet, severing his chance to track him afterwards. He then pushes Doom away as Steve extends his hands for Peggy, asking her to join him, and together they teleport away. Doom is left alone, confused, furious, and hopeless, without answers for the first time. After a while, Dr. Doom returns home, now with a brand new face, having lost for the first time. He limps home. The battle with Steve Rogers has left a mark, not just on his body, but his pride. And now, clearer than ever, he starts to see the futility in his actions to save the multiverse. And he can no longer just delay the inevitable. Why waste his genius? Why waste his time playing a hero if these so-called heroes are the very ones destroying the multiverse? The multiverse is no longer worth saving. It needs reshaping. Doom sits down to plan his future as the Iron Savior. Maybe a quick shot of like a monitor in the TVA, like moving Doom's file into a folder that's titled like threats to look out for, etc. And that folder contains like names of the Kang Dynasty, sort of, something that serves as a clue that the Kang Dynasty has been already dealt with off screen. And also, if the Marvel wants to go that way, they could also tease that the Kang from Quantumania is somehow still alive. Again, if they want to go that way. Elsewhere, Steve and Peggy teleport into a peaceful enough location, disheveled about what just happened. They start, discussing their future, going through what the heck just happened. Just then, a greenish veil of smoke and or magic appears in front of them as a portal opens, and God of Stories Loki descends down. Steve is obviously shocked. Loki, your story isn't finished yet, Cap. And Loki recruits them to join his team of exiles. And then we pull back from that moment back out into the green extracellular temporal loom. Then we see this exact branch Steve was from, and notice that this branch has started splitting in two. So to demonstrate, this cable is that branch timeline where Steve was from, where Steve went after Endgame. We pull back a little bit and we notice that that branch has started to split in two, like so. And all of this in the hands of God of Stories Loki. Because the one Steve meets is actually like a projection, because Loki has to tend to the tree, so he's actually splitting the branch. And then we close in on that branch. Straight back into the moment Steve was putting the dishes in the sink, but nobody is at the door. And in this fractured timeline, Steve really got his happy ending with Becky. Grew old, had kids maybe, and made a shield. Ultimately jumping back to the 616 timeline and giving Sam that shield. But now with the added context that shield has secretly been the catalyst of incursions, acting as a fracture point into the 616. The first spark of an incursion against 616. Now the camera pans into the shield. From that moment, we transition to the present, straight into the middle of a fight Sam is having right now. A training mission or session with his newly assembled Avengers team. We get sort of an introduction to this Avengers group and also a lay of the land of their new headquarters. Not Tiamat Island, that wouldn't strategically be the best place because it's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So maybe the old Avengers compound, or preferably in the West Coast, because that way we're not all in New York. Like maybe that land where Tony Stark's mansion was, in Malibu. As this team wraps up their session, Sam runs into Carol in the hallway, who's still missing Monica. As Carol tells Sam she's got to meet up with Kamala, who's got something urgent, and she flies away. Then Sam notices there's a new segment in the background in the TV where the new Avengers are praised for their latest successful mission. Sam is still uncomfortable having someone so powerful like Sentry on their team, with him voiding the entire city of New York and all that. He tells the others, I gotta make a call. Then in Universe 10005, Beast is meeting up with Monica, who has engineered a temporal dampener to make sure she's not a threat to the universe's stability, whilst also actively looking for a way to help her get home. They once again complete some tests, checking Monica's stability, seemingly with no danger to be found. Monica has been here for a long time, but still is adjusting to a whole new world. She then meets up with Charles Xavier outside, someone who Monica has been having many and long conversations with to get used to the world and all that. Monica has been honored as an honorary member of the X-Men. Then a quick snap of thunder cracks behind Charles as Storm appears behind them. Storm warns the X-Men Magneto finally learned of Monica and is concerned of her presence in this universe. They'll be here soon. We cut back to Carol, who's flown to Chicago and met up with the young Avengers, who are holed up in a small lab that Riri Williams runs. That was gifted to them by Shuri. They've been doing some calculations to find Monica, with the help of America Chavez, Ironheart, Cassie Lang, Billy and Tommy, and of course Kate Bishop and Kamala, who's been sort of the leader of this venture. Carol warns them of the danger, but by her reluctance to save her friend, agrees to help them find Monica. America Chavez opens a portal into the 10005 universe just outside the X-Mansion. Almost immediately, Magneto arrives with his royal family from Genosha, with Pietro, Polaris, and Wanda, and the rest of their Brotherhood of Mutants like Mystique, for example. And the X-Men prepare to fight. During the fight, the Young Avengers start asking for Monica and running into several X-Men characters with many cameo possibilities. Eventually, they run into Storm and Binary as they point them to the right direction. Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Professor X are fending off Wanda, Pietro, and Magneto, who are determined to remove Monica from this universe. Then Monica spots Carol across the battlefield and she runs up to her and they hug each other, and it's a very nice moment. But then Beast comes in wondering what's happening, and as soon as someone tells him Monica's friends are here, Beast gets a look of concern, and just in that moment, the sky above them starts shattering. Title card: Avengers Doomsday. Cut back to the 616, we see Sam just arriving back to the Avengers HQ after meeting up with, let's say, his lawyer or something, She-Hulk, Matt Murdock, either one. And then he meets up with Thor, who also just arrived from New Asgard, as the sky above them starts shattering. They spring to action and Sam quickly calls Shuri, asking for backup, as they could use some help. It should be established here that the Sam's Avengers and Shuri and the Wakandans have sort of formed an alliance to sort of protect the planet. Shuri tells them they're a bit busy. Elsewhere, the Wakandans, led by Black Panther, are in the middle of a heated conflict involving the Talokan and Namor. After years of uneasy silence following the fragile truce Shuri struck with Namor, tensions have begun to mount as Wakanda's outreach to the world has escalated. Since to Namor, Wakanda's increasing willingness to interact with the surface feels like a betrayal of their promise to keep Talokan safe and hidden. Then their conflict reaches a breaking point when a strange rift appears near the Atlantic Trench, a consequence of the spreading incursions, unleashing destructive tidal waves, forcing both nations to set aside their differences and mistrust and fight side by side to protect the Earth. And this is where the Fantastic Four first steps, post-credit scene happens. Dr. Doom has arrived to the Baxter building, but Dr. Doom is there just asking for the Fantastic Four to help out with an incursion that has the potential to wipe out every world in existence into the void. Reed is only familiar with the multiverse on a theoretical level, so Doom can't miss an opportunity to lecture Reed on this. So with the help of Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four strategize on multiversal travel, calculating equations on that blackboard. Then the Fantastic Four pack up their things and prepare the new and improved Excelsior rocket and launch into space. And this is where the Thunderbolts post-credit scene happens. The Fantastic Four arrive on Universe 616 New York and are immediately confronted by Thunderbolts, thinking they are hostile and a danger to the universe. Right then, Doctor Doom steps out of the rocket, admiring the chaos. 3 universes bleeding into the same existential plane. His presence alone forces a momentary pause, both sides still unsure if they can trust him. But the Fantastic Four, especially Reed, begrudgingly admit that he is here to help. The Fantastic Four convince the Thunderbolts to team up. Then Reed picks up his scanner and immediately figures out the source of the incursion. Monica, Carol, and the Young Avengers being in the X-Men universe, causing instability between universes. And almost as soon as Reed says that, and as they spring to action, the sky behind them starts shattering, revealing the Baxter building from Universe 828, crashing through the skyline. Reed gives a quick look at Doom, like James Stokes. If you know, you know. They split into 2 smaller teams, one to go get Monica and the others back to their universe, and the other team to help out with the people, sort of limit the collateral damage. The group going to this 10005 universe consists of Reed, Sue, Doctor Doom, Yelena, Red Guardian, and Bob. They take the Thunderbolts jet while the rest stay to deal with the damage. Herbie is instructed to take the Excelsior rocket with Franklin back to the Baxter building of 828. Elsewhere, Sam's Avengers are saving civilians as much as possible, but are now seeing the 828 universe also appearing in the sky. Worried this might doom them all, they put together a small group to investigate that incursion. This group consists of Sam, Thor, Shang-Chi, Rhodey, Scott Lang, and the Hulk. They take their jet while the rest stay to deal with the damage in the West Coast. Back in the X-Men universe, Dave too prepared to send a group to investigate the incursion closer and hoping to close it as well. This group consists of Captain Marvel, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Monica, and Binary. And then this next segment of the movie is sort of designed to both tie up loose ends and sort of resolve any lingering questions from the multiverse saga up to this point, as it sort of has us intercutting between all these heroes and different teams as they sort of spill into different universes and clash briefly against other heroes, as well as Doctor Doom completing his grand plan. So we have the Avengers meeting the Fantastic Four, the Avengers meeting the X-Men, the Fantastic Four meeting the X-Men, sort of everybody mingling with each other. And then in the 10005 universe, Doom quietly hunts down Miss Marvel and steals her bangles, taking its power, then killing Monica with Kamala's bangles, and then stealing Monica's powers. Captain Marvel sees this and jumps in and gives Doom a real good fight, but Doom kills her too and steals her powers. Pedro Pascal gets kicked in the head by Nightcrawler. We might have a fight with Hulk and Wolverine, Sentry versus Thor, Sam and Bucky maybe reconciling, Spider-Man meeting Wolverine or Johnny Storm, who knows. And then Doom, using the multiversal chaos as his cover, he tricks Sentry into removing the void out of him, but Doom captures him and siphons off Bob's powers, nearly killing him. Maybe Yelena sees this as well. Then we go through the streets of New York. We may see Daredevil and Kingpin, the Defenders, the Punisher, maybe even a Moon Knight cameo, and then Doom teleports back to the 616 universe and attacks Shang-Chi, corrupting his 10 rings and destroying them, harnessing their power, defeating Shang-Chi in the process. Then Scott Lang sees this and is headed to warn the others, but Doom is much faster. And this is where Doom reveals to Scott how he had to take out the Kang dynasty and confirms Scott's suspicions of how him defeating Kang unleashed something worse.
One day you're fired from Baskin-Robbins. The next, you're beating a time-traveling space king. We did beat him, right? I mean, yeah, that's what happened. He was getting out and he didn't get out. I think. But he also said something bad was coming. And that everyone would die if he didn't get out. Wait, so did I just kill everyone? Is everyone gonna die because of me? Oh my god. Oh my, what did I do? What did I do?
Scott welcomed this Doomsday. Then Doom kills Scott. And after the now traditional hero versus hero fight that every Avengers film seems contractually obligated to deliver, teams regroup and begin working together and confront the incursion. The cosmically powered heroes like Sue Storm, Thor and Jean Grey are trying to close down the incursions, and then people like Reed Richards, Bruce Banner, Beast and Spider-Man are working to sort of research and prevent it from escalating, but it's hardly working and starts to be increasingly futile. Ultimately, everything seems to be for nothing, and despite their best efforts, the incursions are escalating and expanding at an alarming rate. There is very little hope left. During this chaos, Thor is suddenly forced into a vision of the TVA being destroyed, revealing the location of the TVA and flashes of some of the people working in the TVA, and leading to a quick glimpse of Loki sitting on his throne. Thor tries to just ignore it for the time being, even though this is not the first time he's seeing visions that came true. And just as everything seems to be lost, a Marvel Sparkle Circle appears in the sky, and Doctor Strange with Clea fly in to save the day. Together they begin stabilizing the incursions, aided by powerful allies like Sue Storm, Thor, Jean Grey, etc. Wanda. The incursion event between these three universes is all patched up for now, but leaving the heroes and even some civilians stranded in the wrong universes, away from their friends and family and the people they depend on. Then Doctor Strange warns this fix isn't permanent and that the incursions will return stronger and the time is running out. So the heroes across these new universes need to come out with a more permanent solution. Strange and Clea attempt to find America Chavez, who's trapped in the X-Men universe, and enlist our powers to bridge all these universes in order to come up with a plan to save the multiverse. Strange, Clea, Sue, and Reed, maybe a few others, travel to the X-Men universe to find America. As they approach the mansion, the heroes are demanding answers, so Strange explains the current situation. Exhausted after preventing yet another incursion, reveals that this is the first time that three different universes have collided like this, and to prevent a total and final collapse of everything, every world needs to coordinate and come together to fix it. But America questions his absence for almost 4 years. Strange reveals he's been down in the dark dimension for all that time, just fixing incursions and growing more powerful. Just then, some heroes and eventually Reed start asking where is Doom. Sue Storm panics, realizing Franklin is alone back at the Baxter building, and demands that America opens a portal back to their universe, back where Franklin was taken by Herbie. Reed keeps looking around for Victor, who has mysteriously disappeared, and now they have to hurry up. America opens a portal to the Baxter building, and Reed and Sue run in, yelling for Franklin, just around the corner and find Herbie killed on the floor, and Franklin nowhere to find. Not again. Reed fights to keep his composure while Sue collapses in grief. And this is where we slip into reveal that Sue is pregnant again. But this time with a girl. She's not showing it yet, but she seems to know it. It doesn't have to be a verbal reveal, but she clutches her stomach or something that clearly signals that she's pregnant. But the bottom line, Valeria is coming. Cut to Dr. Doom teleporting with Franklin to the Baxter Foundation in Universe 838. He tells Franklin he's gonna be okay and that he saved him. Then he shows him the blue spaghetti-like remains of 838 Reed, saying that this Reed couldn't keep his family safe. and it's doubtful his father could either, and also revealing that his home reality doesn't even have a read. He then teleports Franklin to Latveria, to his own reality, saying that this is the safest place in the multiverse. He tells Franklin there isn't much time and he needs to protect him. He guides Franklin into a containment cage thing, telling Franklin, don't be afraid. This cage restricts Franklin, and Doom starts siphoning the power cosmic out of Franklin, which makes Doom become all-powerful. After this, Doom signals someone on his watch to go ahead with the plan, and then he teleports away. In the background, Doctor Strange and America Chavez has started assembling everyone to come up with a plan. There is a smaller but louder group of people looking to just go after Doom and stop him. But Doctor Strange urges them to focus on the upcoming invasion and stopping it. Just then, a time door opens behind the group and a small team walks through, led by Mobius and B-15, calling themselves the Exiles, whose members are Steve, now as Nomad, Agent Carter, Sylvie, Deadpool Wolverine, X-23, Gambit, Blade, Elektra, a Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, played by Dobby and Andrew, and Superior Iron Man. The TVA have been intensely monitoring this Doctor Doom as a potential threat ever since he single-handedly massacred the Kang Dynasty and hunted down several anchor beings across the multiverse. But now they are there to recruit a small team to help them out with an upcoming event that could destroy the TVA. Thor, without hesitating, agrees immediately to join. And only after some convincing, others like Reed, Sam, Elena, Cyclops, Spider-Man, and Johnny Storm join the team. They say goodbye to the others. Doctor Strange has a plan to stop the incursion and explains that because this incursion is like a dam bursting, it's inevitable and can't be stopped unless everyone pitches in. It's go time. Everyone returns to the reality of origin to not escalate it any further, and just as Strange predicted it, the final incursion starts. All of the most powerful heroes among them start blasting their powers anime style. Full-on Kamehameha. Doctor Strange, Clea, Sue Storm, Jean Grey, Wong, America Chavez, Billy Maximoff, and the 1005 Wanda. All the cosmic-powered superheroes left. Doctor Strange ascends above the skies clearly with a plan in mind. And for a while, this plan seems to be going very well. Everyone else watches in awe, but then suddenly, the X-Mansion is attacked by a small group of Sentinels, and then behind the Baxter building, Galactus, who was rescued by Doctor Doom after Fantastic Four First Steps, he was stranded in the 616 universe by mistake. And you know, when a character as powerful as that is wrongly placed in a different reality, that causes some issues. Also why Doom urged the Fantastic Four into the conflict to even greater escalate the 828 universe to collapse onto the 616. And then back on 616, a small team of villains appear through portals, sort of a dark twist on the Endgame portals scene, including King Thanos, Ultron, Maestro, and Captain Hydra, along with the escaped convicts of the Raft. You know, the leader, Mr. Negative from Spider-Man Brand New Day, also with a small army of Doom bots. All these guys somehow have technology reminiscent of TVA technology, you know, being able to prune people and stuff. Cut to Doctor Doom arriving at the TVA, immediately being confronted by several TVA agents and the Exiles. We keep intercutting between the rest of the Avengers, Thunderbolts, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Wakandas, and others who are protecting Doctor Strange and company, trying to stop the final incursion from Doctor Doom's team, the Cabal. And then Doctor Doom just wiping the floor with the TVA and Team Loki. Like, imagine some of the fights like Captain Hydra versus Bucky, Maestro versus the Hulk, who's back to his rage monster after Brand New Day, and Doctor Doom versus Superior Iron Man, or Doctor Doom ripping apart Deadpool or something. The heroes are consumed with stopping the final incursion. Meanwhile, the Cabal pushes them into a precarious situation, threatening to overwhelm their efforts to stabilize the collapsing multiverse, to the point where most of the heroes currently patching up the incursion get too overwhelmed, so their control of the situation is lost, until it's just Doctor Strange holding back the final incursion. But he alone can't stop the incursion, and the first universe to collapse is 616. And that triggers a chain reaction that drags down all three universes into the oblivion. Only a handful of people can escape the Doomsday, with people like America Chavez, Clea, and Wong opening portals in a last desperate effort to escape. Not everyone makes it and is lost to the oblivion. In the chaos, Doctor Strange still fights with every last shred of strength, only holding back the final incursion with desperation. But the collapse is inevitable, and as the destruction inevitably consumes everything, Doctor Strange, at the very last second, teleports away. He lands in the void, devastated for the first time. He looks truly broken by his inability to stop the incursion and save the multiverse, mirroring Doom's arc in the first act. Cut back to the TVA, Doctor Doom, who's in the middle of a fight with the Exiles and the TVA, just throwing Thor away, exploding Deadpool, stabbing Blade, declawing Wolverine, stretching Reed to his limits, etc., etc., until Doom confronts Steve again, as Doom confirms to him that he is the reason for this multiversal crisis. Now Doom has grown so much more powerful since the last encounter and just starts throwing Steve around. Doom grabs Steve, but Doom is knocked away by another shield as Sam Wilson jumps on Doom. Sam and Steve stand side by side, giving Doctor Doom a hard time in the fight. Until Doom is able to compose himself, he throws Steve away and it's Doom versus Sam.
That shield doesn't belong to you.
Maybe not, but I've earned the right to wield it. Doom rips Sam's wings apart, sending him crashing into a wall. He turns to Steve and slams him into the ground. And then he slams Steve's shield into his chest, pinning him down. Steve grits his perfect teeth, struggling to breathe, refusing to yield. But before Doom can finish him, Sam lunges at him with his shield, slamming Doom back. Steve recovers and together they push Doom off balance. But Doom is not impressed and is now angry, and he throws Sam away, impaling him into an office desk. Then Doom grabs Steve mid-air and breaks Steve's arm against his shield, leaving him injured. Then notices a TVA time stick on the ground and balloons Steve to the void. The TVA is in shambles and mostly destroyed as Thor gets back up. On the ground, there are several TVA agents and members of the Exiles, either killed or badly injured. Deadpool and Wolverine and X-23 are all in pieces, PG-13. And laying on the floor is a very bloodied Mobius, who uses his last breath to warn he's going after Loki. Thor rushes to the direction Mobius pointed to, running right into Doom, who is now in the Loom room. Doctor Doom grabs Thor by the neck and yells for Loki to come out. He waits a few seconds, but nothing happens, so he starts squeezing Thor's neck even harder, to the point where Thor passes out, but then is blasted away by some kind of green magic, and God of Stories Loki appears before them. Doom throws Thor away. The Loom room hums with fractured time energy. Thor lies unconscious nearby. Loki floats down. Doom steps toward Loki, challenging him, studying him. Right now, I'm gonna do a thing where my name is Vibrator, I'm gonna be reading for the parts of Doctor Doom and Loki. So, for your consideration, you may call it cringe, but I call it commitment to the bit. Here I go. At last, the pretender god reveals himself. You have changed, trickster. Once you sought out the chaos, now you masquerade as this god of stories, the agent of entropy. Loki goes to say something. Doom continues. You're letting the infinite branches spread unchecked. You're not saving the multiverse, Loki. You're feeding its decay. You're urging its collapse into nothingness. You talk of decay as if you're not the rod itself. You're not saving the multiverse either, Victor. You just want to shape it in your own image. I don't. The multiverse already rots from within. Every choice creates a branch. Every branch overcrowds the tree. And the way I see it, you can either keep trimming it forever, pointlessly, or you can cut it down and end the rot once and for all. To cure it, it requires not mercy, but will. The will to cut, to burn, the will to start over. Will? Yeah, I've heard that before, Victor, from every tyrant who thought the cosmos owed them obedience. Thanos, He Who Remains, the Kang Dynasty, me, and now you. Well, they lacked vision. I will not. Purpose is meaningless without vision, beyond victory, beyond the conquest. Empathy is a weakness you cling to because your unwillingness to make the hard choice. I won't just stand by as the multiverse decays into chaos. I am here to tear it down and rebuild it, to save it from itself at any cost. Well, that's the difference between us, Victor. You burned the tree to kill the rot. I'd rather tend to it, no matter how many thorns it grows. You call it salvation, but you're just another judge, jury, and executioner. But the truth is, Victor, there will be no throne for you. No version of this story that lets you truly come out on top. Because people like us, we don't get happy endings. We only inherit hollow thrones. You will never be a savior, Doom. Doom simply smirks. I am no longer seeking to be a savior, Loki. I am the salvation from this broken machine built by the Kang Dynasty, a system abused by those meant to protect it, yet saved by people like us, the villains whose glorious purpose was to rule. I will forge a new universe from the ashes, and I will not kneel to this machine, nor the whims of those too cowardly to act. Most purpose is more burden than glory. I guess some machines are better left broken. Loki hesitates for the briefest moment and takes a quick look at Thor, the loom, then back at Doom, recalling He Who Remains equation and warnings of how the temporal loom can't hold the infiniteness of the multiverse.
My loom will never be able to accommodate for an infinitely growing multiverse. You can't scale for infinite.
I'll change the equation. I'll break your loom.
But the loom prevents a brutal war where nothing survives, Loki. Not even the sacred timeline.
I grew up in apocalypses, Loki. I've lived through enough of them to know that sometimes it's okay to destroy something.
If there's a hope that you can replace that thing with something better. You gotta keep the big picture in mind.
He shakes off the thought for now, but deep down he wonders, could Doom be right? This is when Thor starts getting back up, and with tears in his eyes, starts noticing Loki for the first time since he was murdered in front of him. Thor jumps up and tries to fight Doom, but Doom effortlessly outmatches him, showing how far beyond a normal god Doom has become. Loki tries to intervene, reasoning with Thor, but still torn between siding with his brother again or acknowledging Doom's logic. Doom snaps off one of the decaying branches like pruning a dead limb from a tree. We see a whole timeline burn away in seconds. Heroes inside it vanish like ash. Thor is horrified, Loki is shaken, Doom is calm. Thor, after seeing this, he lunges, summoning Stormbreaker, catching it mid-air, striking Doom. Thor pushes Doom into the gangway, gets a few good hits in, and a final swing but Doom directs the axe into the abyss and grabs Thor by the neck again, and Loki can't do anything but watch as Doom holds Thor against the abyss as he starts to spaghettify. Thor looks back at Loki. The sun will shine on us again. Thor spaghettifies away, releasing a flash of lightning that Doom steals, with Thor's skeleton left in Doom's hands. Doom chillingly looks back at Loki and mockingly says, "This is my glorious purpose." Doom simply turns away, opens the veil and heads to the Yggdrasil tree. Loki collapses in misery, the weight of what's coming evident on his face. A strange portal opens behind Loki. As Strange walks in, observes the setting, quickly figuring out what has happened. His expression isn't horror, it's recognition. And without a word to Loki, Strange goes after Doom, leaving Loki behind. Then the surviving members of the Exiles finally stumble into the room. Doom arrives in the middle of the Yggdrasil tree, severing Loki's autopilot for it, Loki's last tether to this loom. Doom takes a hold of the infinite branches, snapping them, tying them in a knot, and imploding the branches away in his fist. A blinding white explosion consumes everything. When the light fades, Dr. Doom is reborn. No longer a man, but a god, now infused with the powers of the Ten Rings, Quantum Bangles, Monica and Captain Marvel's powers, Sentry's Void, Thor's godly thunder, and his already existing powers of sorcery and magic, as well as the all-powerful power of cosmic. Dr. Doom emerges with a new look as he has transcended as the all-powerful God Emperor Doom. Doctor Strange appears behind Dr. Doom, simply floating behind Doom until he notices him. The two of them simply exchange looks and they don't say anything. Their motivations, their wills are now aligned. Doom raises his hands and begins merging the last unstable fragments of creation that now warp to his power. Doom reshapes them into a single, unified patchwork planet battle world. The remaining heroes are marooned in the void and can't do anything but watch as Battle World materializes around them, as well as the heroes themselves dematerializing out of existence, and then reappearing a shell of their former selves under Doom's control. The fragments of worlds fuse together, the void is collided with Asgard, Wakanda, Latveria, Manhattan, Talokan, Sokovia, Krakoa, Genosha, Kamartaj, Kunlun, Madripoor, Shandar, Titan, Sakaar, Nowhere, Hala, Mojo World, Savage Land, some medieval or futuristic location, and just so much more. The Kang Dynasty's arena, filled with their corpses, finally crumbles down, as well as the TVA with the remaining heroes there disappearing into a green flash. Did they make it? God Emperor Doom ascends down into his capital, Doomstad. Strange floats down beside him, Doom gazing upon his creation. He finally sits down on his throne, admiring this new world, his perfect kingdom. A world reborn now under his rule. And now for the post-credit scene, I imagine there's only one, and it's gonna tease Secret Wars. A small, quick tease where the last remaining heroes reappear in a green flash into the nexus of all realities, guarded by Man-Thing. Loki says something like, "Thanks for the assist, Ted." Also, they might be joined by some other cosmic forces like the Watcher. And yeah, the end. Holy moly. Not to sound too egotistical or self-grandizing, whatever, but absolute cinema. But yeah, that was it. Yeah, what did you think? This, like I said, this took a lot of work. Maybe a little too much work, and I guess I'm trying to segue to say that you may consider this as my retirement from doing these pitches for movies. Not YouTube as a whole. I'm not that, but at least for a while these pitches, because I don't know. I have a problem when maybe I have ADHD or something, but when I jump into a project like this, like I overthink about it, that it's sort of hard to get to a final finished project like this, the script. So it like drains me or something much more than any other project. So that is hard, especially with, as I'm going through film school. If you don't know, I can't have all of my brain power into just this. So I think it's time to, at least for a while, to take a break from this kind of stuff. But like I said, not from YouTube, but like just doing pitches for movies. But yeah, this script, I'm really confident. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like I said, I really tried to get into the heads of the Russo brothers as much as I could. I watched Doomsday. I watched Infinity War and Endgame 2 times. Once just as the movie, and then with the audio commentary. So to perfectly get into their heads in a way. So I feel like there are a lot of things here that I think they would do in one way or another. I don't think this is 100% what they're gonna do, and yeah, I guess it has a few flaws in there as well, which let's admit, even every movie has flaws in it, so that's not a thing you don't or can't enjoy something just because it has flaws, because every movie has flaws. But yeah, this is a big movie. Even if what they do is even half of what I do, because I never want to get too much into just doing fan fiction, I want to keep it sort of believable, sort of something that Marvel would actually do, and not go too much into fan fiction. But yeah, even if they do half of what I proposed here, this movie is gonna be huge. Like, it's not big, it's gonna be fucking big. It's gonna be so fucking big that even describing it, you can't censor the word fucking. That's how fucking big it will be. It's not fucking big, it's fucking big. Still a little over a year to go, and hype is already building up. I can't wait for this movie, honestly. Yeah. Also, if you have any burning questions, sort of things you need me to clarify, some things that I left too vague or something, please leave them in the comments. I think I'm gonna make a sort of a follow-up video where I kind of go more in depth with my thought process, sort of go over things when sort of why I chose to go the way I did, sort of as a Q&A sort of a video. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. I think I wanna collect them, and I'm gonna put them in a separate video and talk about them, give you guys some clarity if you had some things that were left not as clear or whatever. So yeah, please leave them in the comments. I'll at least try to do that. But yeah, if you check that out if you want to see my much deeper into my thought process and why some stuff, why I made some of this stuff, and But yeah, that about wraps it up. comment down Doomsday if you made it this far. This might be pretty long of a video, so sorry, not sorry about that. Yeah, go check out my Twitter and Instagram at Fibinator on both, and liking this video would be very nice. Would very much appreciate it, because like I said, this took a lot of work, and I think I deserve it. I think I deserve one little click. It won't hurt that much, right? But yeah, also subscribe if you want to see more, not more pictures, but more. I might do a little more. I don't know. I sort of want to get into gaming more. Maybe Sons of the Forest. I've been sort of playing that in the background. Or I don't know. Minecraft is always an option, and Jurassic World Evolution 3, which is also coming out in a couple of days. Actually, well, not as this video gets released, but when I'm recording this. So yeah, comment down if what you want to see me do. But yeah, I'll ring the bell as well. I was supposed to say that. So that's it for this video. Hope you liked it. I hoped I had some good ideas. Please comment down your thoughts of what you thought of this pitch. Would you see this movie if this is what the movie was? But yeah, that's about it. I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.